You're too broken to love. The words hung in the air of Isla's apartment like poison. She stood frozen in the doorway, watching Derek pack the last of his things into a duffel bag. 3 years together. 3 years of her trying to be enough, to heal fast enough, to hide the parts of herself that he'd called too much and exhausting. Derek, please. She hated the tremor in her voice, hated that she was begging. I'm trying. I'm in therapy. I'm working on it. I know you're trying. He zipped the bag with finality. But I can't keep waiting for you to be okay. I can't keep walking on eggshells around your trauma. I need someone whole, Isla. Someone who doesn't flinch when I touch them. Someone who can be normal. Normal, as if she'd chosen to be this way. As if the abuse she'd survived at the hands of her family was something she'd picked out, like a bad outfit. I gave you everything, Isla whispered. I loved you. I know, but love isn't enough when you're this damaged. Derek shouldered his bag, not quite meeting her eyes. Maybe someday you'll heal enough to be with someone. But that someone isn't me. He walked past her and out the door. She heard his footsteps fade down the hallway, heard his car start in the parking lot below. Then silence. Isla sank to the floor, her back against the wall, and felt something inside her shatter completely. Too broken, too damaged. Not enough. Never enough. The thoughts spiraled, each one worse than the last. If Derek couldn't love her, Derek who'd known her for 3 years, who'd seen her good days and bad, then who could? Maybe she really was too broken. Maybe she'd always be too broken. Hours passed. The apartment grew dark. Isla's phone buzzed with texts from her therapist, her few friends, people who'd noticed Derek's social media relationship status change. She ignored them all. What was the point? They'd just tell her she deserved better, that Derek was wrong, that she was worthy of love. Pretty lies that didn't change the fact that she was alone again. Around midnight, she found herself walking. Not toward anywhere specific, just away. Away from the apartment that still smelled like Derek's cologne. Away from the life she'd tried so hard to build. Away from everything. She walked until the familiar streets gave way to unfamiliar ones. Walked until the city lights dimmed and the buildings grew older, more Gothic. She'd wandered into the historic district, she realized dimly. The part of town people avoided after dark because of the rumors. Old money families with strange habits, buildings that seemed to breathe in the moonlight, disappearances that the police never quite solved. Isla didn't care. Let something dangerous find her. At least then, it would be over. She was so lost in her spiral of dark thoughts that she didn't notice the 3 men until they were blocking her path. Rough-looking, with eyes that gleamed too bright in the darkness. Not human, some instinct whispered. But Isla was too numb to be afraid. Lost little girl? The tallest one grinned, showing teeth that were too sharp. This isn't a safe neighborhood for humans. I don't care, Isla heard herself say. The words came out flat, empty. Do whatever you want. The men exchanged glances, surprised. Then the tall one's grin widened. Hear that, boys? She's giving permission. They moved toward her. Isla closed her eyes, waiting for whatever came next. At least it would be quick. At least it would stop the endless loop of Derek's words in her head. Then a voice cut through the night. Cold, ancient, absolute. Step away from her. Isla's eyes flew open. A man stood between her and the 3 creatures, seeming to materialize from the shadows themselves. He was tall, dressed entirely in black, with pale skin that seemed to glow in the moonlight. His hair was dark, pulled back in a way that emphasized the sharp angles of his face. And his eyes, they were a deep, endless blue, ancient and knowing, and currently filled with lethal intent. Lord Lucian. The tall creature's grin disappeared. We didn't know she was yours. She's not mine. She's a person. Each word was laced with quiet menace. And you were about to attack someone who clearly can't defend herself. Leave. Now. Before I forget why I allow rogues like you to exist in my city. The three creatures fled. Isla watched them disappear into the darkness, then looked up at the man who'd saved her. Vampire, her mind supplied. He was obviously a vampire, an ancient, powerful one, judging by how quickly the others had run. Thank you, she said automatically, though her voice still sounded hollow. You didn't have to. Are you all right? He turned to face her fully, and the intensity of his gaze made something in her chest crack. He wasn't just looking at her. He was seeing her, really seeing her. You're not injured? No, I'm fine. The lie was automatic. She was anything but fine. Lucian's eyes narrowed slightly. You're not fine. You're exhausted, emotionally devastated, and you walked into one of the most dangerous parts of the city at midnight, without caring whether you survived. So let me rephrase. Are you physically injured? The accuracy of his assessment should have scared her. Instead, it just made her tired. No, I'm not injured. Just exactly what you said. What happened? Isla laughed, a broken sound that hurt her throat. Does it matter? I'm too broken to love anyway. That's what he said. My boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now, I guess. Too broken, too damaged, too much. Something flickered in Lucian's ancient eyes. Not pity, something sharper, more personal. He's a fool. No, he's right. Isla wrapped her arms around herself. I am broken. I have PTSD from childhood abuse. I flinch at unexpected touches. I have nightmares. I'm in therapy and on medication, and I'm still a mess. Who would want to deal with that? Someone worthy of you. Lucian's voice was firm, which that man clearly wasn't. You don't know me. No, but I know what it's like to believe you're too damaged to be loved. I know what it's like to carry scars that no one else can see. He took a step closer, moving slowly, telegraphing his intentions. And I know that you shouldn't be out here alone, not in your current state. Will you let me help you? Isla looked up at this strange vampire who'd saved her life and seemed to see straight through to her broken heart. She should say no, should go home, should call her therapist, should do any of the healthy things she'd learned in counseling, but she was so tired of being strong, so tired of trying to heal on schedule, so tired of fighting. Okay, she whispered. Help me. Lucian's manor was like something from a Gothic novel. All dark wood and stone, with stained glass windows that caught the moonlight. He led her through halls lined with art and antiques to a room that somehow managed to be both elegant and comfortable. You can stay here tonight, he said, gesturing to the bed. There's a bathroom through that door. I'll have fresh clothes brought up. He paused at the doorway. Is there anything else you need? Isla shook her head, then found herself asking, why are you being kind to me? Because you need kindness right now. And because... He hesitated, then continued quietly. Because I remember what it felt like to be exactly where you are, and I remember wishing someone had cared enough to help. Before she could respond, he was gone, the door clicking softly shut behind him. Isla sank onto the edge of the bed, her mind struggling to process everything. She'd walked into vampire territory planning to let whatever happened happen. Instead, She'd been saved by a vampire lord who seemed to actually care whether she lived or died. It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense anymore. She showered mechanically, letting the hot water wash away the numbness. Found soft pajamas laid out on the bed. Women's pajamas in her size, which should have been strange, but somehow just felt like more evidence of Lucien's thoughtfulness. Crawled into bed expecting to lie awake all night. Instead, for the first time in weeks, she slept without nightmares. Isla woke to afternoon sunlight filtering through heavy curtains. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then, it all came flooding back. Derek leaving, her midnight walk, the vampire lord who'd saved her. A tray sat on the bedside table. Tea, toast, fresh fruit, and a note in elegant handwriting. Sleep as long as you need. When you're ready, there's a library downstairs if you want company or solitude. L. Company or solitude. The fact that he'd offered both options made something in Isla's chest loosen slightly. She ate slowly, savoring food that actually tasted good for the first time in days. Then she ventured out of the room. The library was easy to find. She just followed the scent of old books and leather. It was enormous. 2 stories of floor-to-ceiling shelves with comfortable chairs scattered throughout and a fireplace crackling quietly at one end. Lucien sat in one of the chairs, reading. He looked up when she entered, a small smile touching his lips. Good afternoon. Did you sleep well? Better than I have in months. Isla moved into the room cautiously. Thank you for everything. You're welcome. He closed his book, giving her his full attention. How are you feeling today? Isla considered the question honestly. Numb, mostly. Lost. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. You're not supposed to do anything. You're allowed to just be, to heal at your own pace, without someone telling you you're taking too long or doing it wrong. The words hit her harder than they should have. Derek had always been checking her progress, asking if she was feeling better yet, expressing frustration when she had bad days. She'd internalized his timeline, convinced herself that she was failing at healing. He used to get mad. Isla found herself saying, when I had bad days, that I wasn't trying hard enough. That if I really wanted to get better, I would. Lucien's expression darkened. That's not how trauma works. You can't heal on someone else's schedule. It takes as long as it takes. You sound like you speak from experience. I do. He gestured to the chair across from him. Will you sit? I'll tell you my story if you'd like. It might help you feel less alone. Isla sat. Lucien was quiet for a moment, his ancient blue eyes distant. 2 centuries ago, I was betrayed by someone I trusted completely. Someone I loved. They used that love to manipulate me, to take things from me, to hurt me in ways that I'm still recovering from. His voice was matter-of-fact, but Isla could hear the old pain beneath it. For a very long time after, I convinced myself I was too damaged to ever trust again, too broken to let anyone close. I isolated myself, told myself it was safer that way. What changed? Isla asked quietly. Time. Therapy. Yes, vampires have therapists too. And eventually, the realization that being hurt doesn't make you unworthy of love. It just makes you human. Or vampire, in my case. Isla felt tears prick her eyes. But how do you stop believing you're broken? How do you stop seeing yourself the way they made you feel? Slowly, with help, and by choosing to trust people who show you through their actions, not just their words, that they see your worth. Lucien leaned forward slightly. Isla, you're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. It doesn't feel different. I know, but it is. He stood, moving to a shelf and pulling down a book. Here. I found this helpful during my own recovery. It's about trauma and healing. You're welcome to borrow it. Isla took the book, reading the title through blurry vision. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. I could be anyone. You're not anyone. You're someone in pain who deserves compassion. That's enough. He returned to his chair, and if I'm being completely honest, I'm doing this because I wish someone had done it for me. I wish someone had told me, at my lowest point, that healing was possible. That being hurt didn't make me unlovable. That I was precious exactly as I was, scars and all. The word precious hit her like a physical thing. Derek had never called her precious. He'd called her difficult, damaged, too much. But precious? Never. I don't feel precious, Isla whispered. That's all right. You don't have to feel it for it to be true. Lucian's voice was gentle but firm. You are precious, Isla. Infinitely precious. And I'm going to keep reminding you of that until you start to believe it. Over the next few weeks, Isla lived in a strange sort of limbo. She stayed in Lucian's manor, occupying the guest room he'd given her that first night. He never asked her to leave, never made her feel like a burden. Instead, he just existed alongside her. Some days they'd sit in the library together, reading in comfortable silence. Other days, he'd suggest walks through his gardens, carefully curated night-blooming flowers that reminded her there was still beauty in darkness. And sometimes, when the nightmares woke her at 3 a.m., she'd find him already awake, and they'd talk until dawn about everything and nothing. He was careful with her. Always asked before touching, even casual touches like a hand on her shoulder. Always gave her space to say no without consequence. Always treated her like someone valuable, not despite her trauma, but including it, and slowly. So slowly she almost didn't notice at first. Isla began to heal. Really heal, not just perform healing to meet someone else's timeline. She started eating regular meals, started sleeping through most nights, started leaving the manor occasionally, first just to the corner store, then for longer trips. She even started believing, just a little, that maybe she wasn't as broken as Derek had said. It was on one of their late-night library sessions, 3 weeks after she'd arrived, that Isla finally asked the question that had been building in her mind. Lucian, can I ask you something? He looked up from his book, giving her that focused attention that still made her heart skip. Always. Why haven't you asked me to leave? I've been here for weeks. I'm not paying rent. I'm not contributing anything. Why keep me? Because you're not ready to leave yet. He said it like it was obvious. And when you are ready, I'll help you find a place. But until then, you're welcome to stay as long as you need. But why? What are you getting out of this? Lucian set down his book, his expression serious. Honestly, peace. Knowing that I helped someone who needed it. Knowing that you're safe here instead of spiraling alone in that apartment. He paused. And if I'm being completely truthful, I enjoy your company. You're intelligent, thoughtful, and you see the world in ways that surprise me. That's rare after 2 centuries of existence. Isla's breath caught. You enjoy my company? Even though I'm healing, yes. Even though... He leaned forward slightly. Isla, you keep talking about yourself like your trauma is a flaw. Like the fact that you're recovering from abuse makes you less worthy of care. But it doesn't. If anything, it makes you braver. You survived something terrible, and you're still here, still fighting, still choosing to keep going. That's not weakness. That's incredible strength. I don't feel strong. You don't have to feel it for it to be true. He smiled slightly. Are you starting to see a pattern in my responses? Despite everything, Isla laughed. It felt rusty, unused, but real. You're very persistent. I've had 200 years to perfect stubbornness. His smile faded into something more serious. I mean it, though. You're precious to me, Isla, not because of what you can do or how quickly you heal, but because of who you are. The woman who reads 3 books a week. The woman who makes terrible puns at midnight. The woman who cried over a sad movie last week and didn't apologize for it. That's who I see. Not broken. Beautiful. Isla's throat closed. She'd spent so long believing Derek's words, believing she was too damaged to love. But Lucian looked at her like she was something valuable, like her scars were part of her story, not reasons to discard her. I don't know what to say, she managed. You don't have to say anything. Lucian stood, crossing to her chair. He crouched down so they were eye level, careful not to touch her without permission. But I need you to hear this. You are not too broken to love. You never were. That man lied to you because he was too small to hold space for your healing. But I'm not him. And I see you, Isla. All of you. And you're precious. Isla started crying, not the desperate, broken sobs from that first night, but something cleaner, grief for the time she'd wasted believing she was worthless, relief that someone finally saw her and stayed anyway, hope that maybe, just maybe, she could be whole again. Can I? Lucian hesitated, then asked carefully, Can I hold you? If you don't want me to. That's completely fine. But if it would help... Yes, Isla whispered. Please. He gathered her into his arms, slowly and carefully, giving her every opportunity to change her mind. When she didn't pull away, he held her while she cried, one hand rubbing soothing circles on her back, murmuring quiet reassurances. You're safe. I've got you. You're precious. So precious. And for the first time since Derek had walked out, Isla believed it might be true. The crash back to reality came 2 weeks later, in the form of Derek showing up at Lucian's door. Isla was in the library when she heard the commotion. Raised voices from the entrance hall, Derek's familiar tone demanding to see her. Her whole body went cold. Isla! Derek's voice echoed through the manor. I know you're here. We need to talk. She stood frozen, her book falling from nerveless fingers. She hadn't seen or spoken to Derek since that night, had blocked his number, blocked him on social media, cut all contact. What was he doing here? How had he even found her? Lucian appeared in the library doorway, his expression carefully neutral but his eyes blazing with cold fury. You don't have to see him. I can have him removed. No. Isla took a shaky breath. I need to do this. I need to face him. Then I'll be right beside you, if that's all right. She nodded, grateful beyond words. They walked to the entrance hall together, Isla's heart hammering but her spine straight. Derek stood near the door, looking frustrated and entitled in a way she'd somehow never noticed before. Finally, he turned to her, his expression softening into what she recognized as his manipulation face. Baby, we need to talk. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have left like that. You were right to leave, Isla said, her voice steadier than she felt. I deserved better than someone who saw my trauma as a burden. Derek's expression flickered with irritation before smoothing out again. I know I handled it badly, but I've been thinking, and I want to try again. I miss you, Isla. Don't you miss me? A month ago, she would have said yes, would have jumped at the chance to have him back, convinced that being with him, even if it hurt, was better than being alone. But now, with Lucian standing quietly beside her, radiating support without demand, she could see Derek clearly for the first time. He didn't miss her. He missed having someone to control. He missed having someone who made him feel superior by comparison. No, Isla said quietly. I don't miss you, Derek. I miss who I thought you were. But that person never existed. Derek's face hardened. So what? You're with him now? He gestured at Lucian with obvious disdain. Trading down, aren't you? What is he, some kind of sugar daddy? Because we both know you can't actually sustain a real relationship. That's enough. Lucian's voice was soft, but absolutely lethal. You will not speak to her that way. Not in my home, not anywhere. Or what? Derek sneered. What are you going to do about it? Lucian smiled, and it was the most dangerous thing Isla had ever seen. I'm going to give Isla the choice, because unlike you, I actually respect her autonomy. He turned to her, his expression gentling. Do you want him to leave, or would you like to say more? Isla looked at Derek, really looked at him, saw the manipulation, the gaslighting, the way he'd made her feel small so he could feel big. Saw all the ways he'd used her trauma against her, made her believe she was the problem when he was the one unwilling to grow. I want to say something, she said. Derek, you told me I was too broken to love. You made me believe that my trauma made me unworthy. But you were wrong. I'm not too broken. I'm healing, and I'm worthy of love. The kind of love that's patient and kind and doesn't keep score. The kind of love you never gave me. Isla, I'm not finished. She took a step forward, and Derek actually took a step back. I spent 3 years trying to be enough for you, trying to heal on your schedule, to hide my bad days, to pretend I was okay when I wasn't. And you know what? It was exhausting. You were exhausting. Because you didn't actually want me to heal. You wanted me to stay broken so you could feel superior. Derek's face flushed. That's not true. I tried to help you. No, you tried to fix me. And when I didn't get fixed fast enough, you left. But I'm glad you did, Derek, because it showed me what I actually deserve. And it's not you. So you're just going to stay here? Derek gestured around the manor. Play house with some rich guy who probably just wants. Careful. Lucian's voice dropped several degrees. Finish that sentence and you'll regret it. Derek swallowed, finally reading the danger in Lucian's ancient eyes. This is ridiculous. Isla, you're being manipulated. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Isla stood straighter. And I'm done with you, Derek. Leave, and don't come back. For a moment, Derek looked like he wanted to argue. Then he seemed to deflate, his manipulation tactics finally failing him. You're making a mistake. You'll never find anyone better than me. Not with your issues. Then I'll be alone. Isla's voice was strong. And that's still better than being with you. Derek left in a storm of impotent rage. When the door slammed behind him, Isla felt something release in her chest. A weight she'd been carrying for so long that she'd forgotten it was there. She turned to Lucian, who was watching her with pride and something deeper in his ancient eyes. Are you all right? He asked gently. I'm better than all right. Isla laughed, a real laugh that bubbled up from somewhere deep. I'm free. Lucian smiled, and it transformed his face. Yes, you are. And you were magnificent. I was, wasn't I? Isla moved closer to him, her heart pounding, but not from fear this time. Lucian, can I ask you something? Always. You called me precious. You've been calling me precious for weeks. Did you mean it? Or was it just something kind to say to someone who was broken? You're not broken. He said it automatically, then continued more carefully. But yes, I meant it. You're precious to me, Isla. Infinitely precious. And not because I'm trying to be kind, because it's true. What if I want to be more than precious? The words came out before she could second-guess them. What if I want this? You? What if I want to stay, not because I'm healing, but because I'm falling in love with you? Lucian's breath caught, an unnecessary gesture for a vampire, but telling. Isla, you've just ended a relationship. You're still recovering. I don't want you to confuse gratitude or safety with, I'm not confused. She stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of silver in his blue eyes. I know the difference between gratitude and love. And I know that you see me, really see me, and you stay anyway. You don't try to fix me or rush me or make me small. You just hold space for me to be exactly who I am. That's precious, Lucian. You're precious. I'm 200 years old. I've done terrible things. I'm a vampire. And I have PTSD and nightmares and scars that will never fully fade. We're both complicated. We're both healing. But maybe. Isla took his hands, marveling that she wasn't afraid. Maybe we can be complicated and healing together. Lucian looked at their joined hands, then back at her face. If we do this, I need you to understand something. I don't do things halfway. If I love you, and I do, Isla, I love you so much it terrifies me. Then I love you forever. Literally, I'm immortal, and I can make you immortal too if you want. But that's a very long time to be with someone. What if forever doesn't sound long enough? Isla whispered. Then, Lucian pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. Then I would be honored to spend it showing you exactly how precious you are. When he kissed her, it was gentle and patient and full of promise. Isla felt tears slip down her cheeks, but this time they were happy tears, healing tears. I love you, she said against his lips. I love you, and I'm not too broken for that. I'm exactly enough. You're more than enough. Lucian kissed her again. You're everything. The blood bond ceremony happened a month later, after Isla had gone to therapy to make sure this was what she truly wanted. After she'd processed the trauma of Derek's return and come out stronger. After she was absolutely certain that she was choosing this for the right reasons. She stood before Lucian in his private chambers, wearing a dress of deep midnight blue that made her feel like royalty. Around them, a small gathering of trusted friends. Her therapist via video call, giving her blessing. Mrs. Chen, Lucian's housekeeper who'd become like a mother to Isla. And Martin, who'd welcomed her with quiet kindness. Are you certain? Lucian asked one last time, holding the ceremonial chalice. There's no shame in waiting, in taking more time. I'm certain. Isla's voice was strong. I choose this. I choose you. I choose forever. He drew the blade across his palm, letting dark blood well up and drip into the chalice. When he offered it to her, she took it without hesitation. Drink and speak the words. I choose you, from this moment into eternity. The blood tasted of power and magic and promise. Isla drank deeply, then spoke the words with absolute conviction. I choose you, from this moment into eternity, because you showed me I was precious when I believed I was broken, because you gave me space to heal and time to choose, because you loved me exactly as I was and helped me become who I'm meant to be. Lucian's eyes glowed with emotion. And I choose you, Isla. Your strength, your courage, your beautiful heart. I choose your scars and your healing, your bad days and your good ones. I choose all of you, forever. When his fangs pierced her throat, Isla felt their bond snap into place, not painful but profound. She could feel his love, his certainty, his absolute conviction that she was precious beyond measure. And he could feel hers. All her fear transformed into strength, all her pain alchemized into wisdom, all her self-doubt finally giving way to self-love. The transformation was intense. Her body burned and froze and reshaped itself into something new, something powerful. When it was over, when Isla opened her eyes and saw the world with vampire senses, she felt strong in a way she never had before. How do you feel? Lucian asked, still holding her steady. Isla tested her new strength, her enhanced senses, this incredible power flowing through her veins. Then she smiled, radiant and free. I feel precious, she said. Finally, I feel precious. The coronation happened a week later. Lucian's grand ballroom was filled with supernatural dignitaries, all come to witness the impossible. A human turned vampire, transformed by love rather than force. Crowned as queen beside one of the oldest and most powerful lords in existence. Isla stood beside Lucian's throne, wearing a gown that seemed to shimmer between midnight blue and black, embroidered with silver stars. On her head sat a crown of white gold and sapphires. And in the audience, deliberately placed where she could see him, was Derek. He looked smaller now, powerless, watching the woman he'd called too broken to love being crowned as a vampire queen. Isla met his eyes across the ballroom and smiled. Not cruel, just certain. Then she turned away, dismissing him entirely, and took Lucian's hand. Regrets? Lucian murmured as the ceremony began. Only that I wasted 3 years believing someone who couldn't see my worth. Isla squeezed his hand, but not anymore. Never again. Good. Lucian raised her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles in front of the entire court. Because you're precious, my love. You always were, and now the whole world will know it. They ruled together for centuries after that. Isla became known as the Healing Queen, famous for her work with trauma survivors and her fierce advocacy for those society called broken. She never forgot what it felt like to believe she was too damaged to love. And she made it her mission to prove that healing was possible, that trauma didn't define worth, that everyone deserved to be seen as precious. And Derek? He lived out his ordinary human life, growing old while Isla stayed young and powerful. The last time she heard of him, he was telling people he'd dated a vampire queen once. She didn't bother correcting the record. He wasn't worth her time. The real story, her story, was so much better than anything Derek could tell. It was a story of survival, of healing, of learning to see her own worth. It was a story of finding someone who looked at her scars and said, precious, instead of broken. It was a love story. A real one. The kind that lasted forever. And Isla lived it every day, eternally grateful that she'd walked into those dark streets the night Derek left her. Because that night, she'd found something far more valuable than a toxic relationship. She'd found herself. And she'd found love. And she'd learned the most important truth of all. She was never too broken. She was always precious. She just needed someone who could see it and the courage to believe it herself. Forever started with that realization. And forever, Ela thought, as Lucian pulled her close in their private chambers after the coronation, was going to be absolutely beautiful.